Hey, what's up? You're listening to DawayPodcast-intermedio006 English course. This is session number 6, countable and uncountable nouns. Hey, what's up? Welcome to Daway again. How are you? How are you doing? Hello. And today we've got another lesson for the intermediate English course. And I want to try to teach you something really, really important for a B1 level. This is countable and uncountable nouns, sustantivos contables e incontables. I know you know this, you know almost all of them, but this is very crucial because a lot of people confuse some of them. So let's start, right? So the first thing we have is countable nouns, okay? Nouns that we can count, like 1, 2, 3, 4, okay? So for one item, we use a or an. So we say an apple, una manzana, an apple, or a car, a table, a notebook, a blog. For the plural, normally we use the s, okay? Elephants, or questions. For a small quantity, we use a few, unos pocos o unas pocas. There are a few cars on my street. There are a few cars. Or I can see a few people in the streets. For a big quantity, we use many or a lot of. Many, I can see many cars from the window. Or there are a lot of people. And, an alternative is lots of is the same, okay? A lot of or lots of. I think lots of is a bit more informal, okay? So when in doubt, en caso de duda, use a lot of, okay? Or many. There are a lot of cars. Or I have a few ideas. Tengo unas pocas ideas. For an indefinite number, when it's not a lot or it's not a few either, we use some. I have some ideas. I don't have a lot of ideas. I don't have a few ideas. I have some ideas. Or we use any, okay? In the negative and in the questions. Imagine you go to a hotel and the receptionist says, I'm sorry, sir, we don't have any rooms. No tenemos ninguna habitación. We don't have any rooms today, okay? So that's for countable nouns, okay? We use a or an for the singular. We use the s for the plural. For a small quantity, we use a few. For a slightly bigger quantity, we use some. And for the big quantity, we use many, a lot of, lots of. Okay? And in the negative and questions, we use any. Okay? So some is only used in the affirmative. So we say, I like some films. Me gustan algunas películas. I like some films. Or I have some good friends, okay? Tengo buenos amigos. I have some good friends. Or for example, I've got some books on the shelf. Hay algunos libros. There are some books on the shelf. So we use some for the affirmative. Then we have any. We use any in the negative. Like, I don't have any questions. No tengo ninguna pregunta. I don't have any questions. Or in interrogative, okay? Did you buy any apples? ¿Has comprado alguna manzana? Did you buy any apples? Okay. So be careful. You only use any in the negative and in the interrogative one. And finally, we can use some in the question only when it refers to something we are offering. Okay, when we want to offer something. So you say, would you like some tea? ¿Te gustaría tomar algo de té? Would you like some tea? Or would you like some sponge cake? ¿Te gustaría tomar bizcocho? I love sponge cake. So we use some only in those questions, okay? When we want to offer something. Okay, so that's for countable nouns, okay? Countable nouns. We have a, an, a few, some, many, a lot of, lots of, okay? And now we go to uncountable nouns. So, the basic difference between countable and uncountable nouns is, obviously, you can't count uncountable nouns. This looks like a tongue twister, un trabalenguas. You can't count uncountable nouns. No se pueden contabilizar. So we don't use a or an. I mean, you can't say a water, un agua, okay? Maybe in Spanish, in Spanish, in some regions, we say, dame un agua, okay? But you can't say a water, un agua, or a music, una música. So you can't count, can you? Okay? So we never use the plural. We don't say musics, we don't say works, or we don't say, foods. For a small quantity, we use a little, okay? A little, or a little, if you're American, okay? A little. So a little work, un poco de trabajo, a little work, or a little time, un poco de tiempo, tengo un poco de tiempo, I have a little time. Okay, for a bigger quantity, we use some, algo de, un poco de, I've got some money, or I've got some chocolates, or I have some ice cream in the fridge, okay? For a bigger quantity, we use much, a lot of, or lots of. And here, the only thing you have to remember is that we don't use much in the affirmative. We only use much in the questions and in the negative ones, okay? So we don't say, I have much time. That's a bit unnatural, okay? So we say, I don't have much time, I don't have much money, I don't have much work today. Or I have a lot of work today, I have lots of work today. And finally, we use the verb in the singular. So be careful. You say music helps me relax. Music helps, okay? It's the third person singular. Music helps me relax. Or you can say transport is, okay? Transport is cheap in this city. El transporte es barato. Okay. And again, we use some in the affirmative and in questions when we offer something. Would you like some tea? Or would you like some money? And we use any for questions and negatives, okay? Do you have any knowledge on computers? ¿Tienes algo de conocimiento? Do you have any knowledge on computers? Or I didn't use any shampoo. Okay, so that's a basic difference between countable and uncountable nouns. And now we go to the most common uncountable nouns. And here in the article, you've got a list. You don't have to memorize the whole list, but these are the most important ones. So try to do it, okay? So we've got accommodation, alojamiento. Be careful. If you want to count some of these nouns, you have to use an additional expression, okay? So you can't say, for example, 2 papers, dos papeles, dos folios. You say 2 pieces of paper or 2 sheets of paper. Okay, so normally, when we want to count an uncountable noun, we use an additional expression, okay? So accommodation is alojamiento. Experience, experiencia. I have a lot of experience or I have a little experience. Knowledge, conocimiento, okay? I have a little knowledge on computers. Noise, ruido. You're making a lot of noise. Time, the classic, I don't have a lot of time. Advice, consejo, be careful with advice, okay? Advice is uncountable. So you can't say, give me 2 advices, dame 2 consejos, okay? If we want to count advice, we use the word tips, for example. Okay, tip. Tip is a good idea, okay? Un consejo. So give me 5 tips to learn English. 5 consejos para aprender inglés. 5 tips. This is very common when you're on the internet and you find something like top 10 tips, okay, los 10 consejos más famosos, top 10 tips to lose weight, para perder peso. This is very, very, it's a classic. Then we have food, comida, be careful. When we mean comida, we use food and it's uncountable. Like I have some food in the fridge, I have a lot of food in the fridge. But we can use food as a countable noun. We can say 3 foods if we refer to alimento. So we need 3 different foods for this recipe, para esta receta, for this dish. Okay, foods. Luggage, equipaje. Careful again, okay? Luggage is uncountable. So if you want to refer to a particular piece of luggage, you can say, I have 10 suitcases. Tengo 10 maletas. Or I carry 2 suitcases. Llevo 2 maletas. Okay, but luggage is, it's in general. It's a general expression, so it's uncountable. I have a lot of luggage. Then you've got paper, so you have to say a piece of paper. Can you give me a piece of paper? Or can you give me a sheet of paper? Okay, un folio, a sheet of paper. Then we've got transport, transport. If you want to refer to one particular item or means, you use the word means of transport, okay? Un medio de transporte. The car is a good means of transport, okay? But the tram, el tranvía, is better. It's a better means of transport. Then we have countryside. Countryside is basically the surrounding area, the outskirts of a city, el campo. So you say, and there is a lot of countryside around Murcia, okay? And furniture, be careful. This is one of the most important ones. Don't confuse it, okay? Don't make it countable, okay? Furniture is uncountable, so it never has an S. An S, okay? Nunca lleva ese. So you don't say, I have 3 furnitures. Tengo 3 muebles. If you want to say un mueble, an item, a single item, you say a piece of furniture. A desk or a table is a piece of furniture. So be careful. Don't say furnitures, fornituras. Work, trabajo. I have a lot of work, or I don't have much work. Homework, be careful. Homework is uncountable. Los deberes. I've seen a lot of students say, I have to do a lot of homeworks. Tengo que hacer muchos deberes. Be careful. I have to do a lot of homework. Or I have to do some homework. Money, dinero, money. Space, espacio. We don't have a lot of space, or we don't have much space. Music. And research, investigation, like academic investigation, or, I have done a little research. He hecho un poco de investigación. I have done a little research. Equipment, the material you need to play a sport, practice a sport, for example. You need some equipment to play American football, for example. Okay, you need some equipment. Information is uncountable, okay? News, be really, really careful with news. Noticia o noticias. This is a pain in the ass. Es un poco pesada esta palabra. Because it always goes with an S. Siempre lleva S. It doesn't matter if it's plural or singular. I mean, you always use it as an uncountable noun. So you say, the news is good. Son buenas noticias. The news is good. Or es una buena noticia. The news is good. The goods is new. No, the news is good. Okay? Or the news is about blah, blah, blah. Okay, we use the verb in the singular. For example, the news, when I watch the news on television, the news makes me feel sad. Okay? Las noticias me hacen, the news makes me feel. Okay? So we use the verb in the singular. If you want to mention a particular piece of news, a particular article or news report, you can use the word news report, okay, un informe de noticias o un artículo, a news report, or you can say a piece of news, un trozo de noticias, okay, una noticia. This morning, or for example, yesterday, I read a piece of news about Brazil, and I didn't like it at all, okay? It was a very bad piece of news, okay? And scenery is basically the features of a landscape, okay? El paisaje. So you say, around Murcia, there is a lot of beautiful scenery. You can go to the beach, to the coast, al litoral, or you can go to climb up the mountains. You've got a lot of beautiful scenery around Murcia. Or if you go to the Basque country, al País Vasco, the scenery there is so beautiful. Such beautiful scenery. Okay, so just, that was the list. Those are the most common uncountable nouns. Just be careful, and be careful with the verb, which is in singular, siempre va en singular, and sometimes you will have to use some expressions like a piece of news, okay, or a piece of furniture, and that's it basically. Now you've got in the article, I gave you some exercises, to practice, for you to practice. Don't forget to look for real examples, or you can go, if you find a particular word really, really difficult, if you struggle with a particular word, you can go to Google and you can type the word, okay, accommodation. If you type accommodation on Google, you will find images, real examples, on websites of different hotels, so you can look for real use of the word. That's really important to memorize a word, okay? And that's it. Don't forget, you can share this article, puedes compartir el artículo, you can like and follow the Facebook page or Twitter or Google+, okay? If you want more updates, curiosities, and all that. So, and you can also subscribe if you want a copy of my free ebook, okay? La copia del libro. So have a very, very good day and see you next class. Cheers.